Hi, all. This is more my style. I figured I had a moment to come into school. I could go over a few things that are going to be on the AP test real quick and just save this online as something you could look at later. So, the old fashioned way. Um, anyway, I just wanted to speak, maybe 5 minutes. Required documents. So I listed them here, but they'd be easier to find online. But these are the only documents that are required. These all could be tested on the AP test, since they all fall within those 3 units they're going to test over, and they would be game to be a free response question. And then the 15 court cases. First semester, people, we should have gone over all of these except maybe this one. Second semester, we probably have done half, maybe at most. So real quick, required documents, Articles of Confederation, you're mostly talking about weaknesses there, the articles. So that's something most of you probably pretty aware of, and we hammered home pretty well this semester. The U.S. Constitution, that's obviously a massive thing. So that's every part of it. We know the Constitution, powers of the President, powers of Congress. It's things that we will get to as we review and go over other units as well. But the Federalist Papers, you see, that's almost half of them here in response to the Federalist Papers. So Federalist number 10, just remember that this is the idea that a republic, and a large republic, is the best way to prevent the abuses, and I know you can't read my writing probably, but what's new, of factions. So just remember, it's the value of a large republic to limit factions. Federalist 51, this is separation of powers, and how that's going to happen, and each branch will check each other in the Constitution. Federalist number 70, we did mention that just 2-3 weeks ago or so. This is the value of an energetic executive, and why we need one figure to be the executive in our country, rather than a panel or something like that. Federalist 78 is about the judicial branch, and it is Hamilton saying that we shouldn't worry about the the judicial branch, because it is by far the least powerful of the branches. Now, these two, I'm not going to even really mention even that specifically. These two, you're going to have to just look over a summary or something of. Brutus is he is an anti-federalist, and he is going to criticize a lot of aspects of the Constitution. Most notably, he believes that the Constitution is going to allow for the new republic, to become too powerful and oppressive to the people and the states. But there's a lot of parts of the Constitution he attacks. And then Letter from a Birmingham Jail. This is from Martin Luther King Jr. Again, this is about the discrimination African Americans were facing, and how they need to sort of fight back. And so that is one that would be a good idea for really both of these for you to watch the Khan Academy videos on. Now, the court cases, most of us should be okay with this one, Marbury versus Madison, which is going to create judicial review and allow the Supreme Court to declare acts of Congress unconstitutional. And then McCulloch v. Maryland, we've been over in both semesters quite a bit, and so that's that allows for a national bank and for the government to expand its powers under the necessary and proper clause. Brown versus Board of Education, we hopefully know this case, even though we have not got to it this semester yet, but this is going to outlaw separate but equal, and overturn the Plessy versus Ferguson decision that had allowed separate but equal. Gideon v. Wainwright will be the case that allows people to have a lawyer, and a lawyer free of charge, where the government will pay for it if you can't afford one yourself. Tinker v. Des Moines, most of us in schools, we've heard of this case, that armbands are the equivalent of speech, and students were allowed to wear armbands to school as a form of symbolic speech. Roe v. Wade, this is going to allow women to have an abortion rights. It's going to fall under the right to privacy, and that's a very debatable topic, not just abortion, but whether privacy is in the Constitution or not, and hopefully we'll have a lesson on that in the very near future. It is also going to create trimesters, and again, I'm not even sure if you can really hear my voice here, but hopefully you can as I turn around. U.S. v. Lopez had to do with gun rights, but more than that, it's about federalism, and how in this case, the court, in a very controversial decision, said that that the national government did not have the right to ban guns on school grounds because that was a state issue. The national government felt that that they had the right to because it was interstate commerce, but the court said that in no way was somebody walking across school grounds with a gun interstate commerce. Baker v. Carr, this was one man, one vote. Some of you may remember my poor drawing of the state of Tennessee where I went like this and said they had divided districts like that. And the court said that was unconstitutional. You had to divide districts, not on geography or anything else, but had to be only based on population. And eventually some other limitations came in. Engel v. Vitale. This is when schools tried to have a non-denominational prayer, and the court said that school prayer of any kind, non-denominational or otherwise, was unconstitutional. New York Times Company versus the United States. In this case, the government tried to prevent publication of something called the Pentagon Papers. Some of you may know that from APUSH, but you don't need to really worry about the content of that for this class. But the Pentagon Papers, the government claimed were should be forbidden from being published because it was national security, and the court said no, too bad. And so in this case, they said no prior restraint. Prior restraint is when the government basically censors you, prevents the publication of something. Schenck v. U.S. created the clear and present danger test, and this basically said that if the government could limit speech if it presented a clear and present danger to the United States. I'm really not sure why this is one of the essential cases, because this has been overturned by Brandenburg v. Ohio and some other cases. So this really is not our standard anymore. It actually allowed for restrictions on free speech and not the opening up of free speech that we have today. McDonald v. Chicago, this is going to do something that is called incorporating a right in the Bill of Rights. This incorporated the Second Amendment. And incorporating the Second Amendment meant that states had to listen to the Second Amendment also. In second semester, we have not been over incorporation yet, so hopefully we'll do that in the near future. And you'll understand more of what that means. But the Bill of Rights, for most of our country's history, applied only to the national government, not to the states. Shaw v. Reno had to do with North Carolina, and it was North Carolina districts. Some of you remember the very narrow one that we showed that had been designed specifically to have African Americans be able to elect a representative. And the court said that race could be something that could be factored in, but it could not be the only factor or the main factor when they make districts. Wisconsin v. Yoder. This case had to do with freedom of religion and the right to exercise your religion. And there was sort of a compromise made, and it had to do with Amish parents did not want to have their kids in public school as long as the law required. And the the Supreme Court allowed the Amish parents to bring their kids out of school at an earlier point, just so they could they just wanted to get basic schooling, but they did not want them to be impacted by all the technology that was around in high school, and so they wanted to pull them out at an earlier point, and the court agreed. Citizens United versus FEC. This case is very controversial. Obama went on record bashing this while he was in office. This was a controversial case because this equated corporations or just sort of other entities the same as people. And this gave corporations the right to free speech. And a lot of people have questioned that since, and others feel that this is an appropriate decision because they said that all companies are a bunch of people, and so they should have free speech rights, and they should not have their rights restricted to spend money on campaigns. So I know that's just a real quick review. I felt like I need to do something today so that maybe some of you could get started. Again, if you're looking at this down the road and we are close to the AP test, I would really just make sure you're familiar with these. I would not try to reread, the decisions or even the whole articles here. But I would at least look at some sort of summary or watch the Khan Academy videos on some of these and make sure that you're familiar with these. because I have to imagine with the new format, and they're just going to have the free response question for you, that they're going to incorporate some kind of documents and or court cases. And so I hope everyone's doing well. This is, I am publishing this on, I guess it's March 25th, and I did hear that through the grapevine, I have not seen the article yet, but they are going to start a shelter in place now for North Carolina. So it looks like our movements will be even more limited, and I probably won't be making any more appearances at school. So all the best, everyone. Thank you.